I don't even know what I want. I just want everyone to be happy. And I don't want people to hate me.
Do you hate yourself?
And you're locked into another episode of the Anliu podcast. My name is Josh, and I'm glad to be back with you once again this week, making that intersection between faith and animation and delivering those redundant analogies you've come to know and love. And it is September, everybody. It's time for pumpkin spice lattes, kind of getting your Halloween decor out of the way. That's still keeping. Oh, actually, no. Halloween's. I'm all mixed up today. We're just gonna roll with it. Halloween's coming up, getting your fall decorations, and it also means this is the time of year that my wife loves to do home projects that I'm unfortunately or fortunately roped into. But enough about that. I want to get right into our episode today. And I have a guest who I have been very excited about bringing on the podcast. She is a cosplayer, going to tons of conventions. She also is a contributor on the Magic Making Mischief podcast. Please welcome Mombierella. Mombierella, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, we're going to get our audience to get to know you a little bit and just kind of who you are, kind of a little bit of your background.
When I started my channel, actually, it was because I had this. We went to Disney parks a lot, and so I would share a lot of tips about Disney. And I had a lot of friends that would ask me over and over, and they're like, "I'll just share it all at one time." And so I started a YouTube channel, and I really wanted something family friendly that I could have with my kids where they could watch it and be around while I made it. And YouTube was really growing back then. So it was kind of one of those things that I was scratching my own itch in a way, creating more family friendly content. We've evolved since then. We don't do Disney parks really as much as we do. We've really become more of a universal family when it comes to theme parks, but we do a lot of pop culture stuff, Comic Cons, Anime Cons, any family friendly event that we just, sounds like something that everybody would have fun. We share it out. So the name, it's funny because even though, I still have the mouse ears even on my logo, but it's just a great reminder of where we started more than anything, just we like to make every day magical is kind of a thing that we say, just keep finding those special moments in every day because there's something that makes every day worth it, you know? So yeah, it's kind of a real focus.
It's amazing, and I'm sure very rewarding to see kind of where you came from to where you are now. Just looking in the background, you've received the adored YouTube button, which means you've gained a certain number of subscribers through your YouTube channel. And concerning your YouTube channel, you have one named Mombierella. You also have another channel that you collaborate with, and that is the Magic Making Mischief podcast, along author CJ Peterson and Yukita Cosplay. Where did the ideas for this podcast come from, and kind of how do they differ from what you do on your channel to what's covered on Magic Making Mischief?
My channel, my specific Mombierella channel, it's more of a vlogging events that we go to, highlights, and just taking everybody along with us for the fun kind of thing. Any of the pop culture stuff around. Essentially, like I'm hosting it, and everybody's just coming with us as part of the fun. As far as the podcast, like that really is a different beast in and of itself. Magic Making Mischief was kind of birthed from our friendship. Originally, CJ and I met at the first Comic Con I was invited to cover, and it was a collaboration between the two of us. And then we invited Yukita to actually become a member of the co-hostesses that we were. And really, I mean, we're three best friends who collaborate because we each have our own content. We create our own things that we do, but we share our fandoms that we love, the things that we're excited about, the kind of we have a pop culture focus that each of us has our own branch of, and we come together to do interviews and different like conversational driven podcasts that will have all kinds of special guests from voice actors to actors like we've had Kevin Sorbo, we've had the voice actress Stephanie Aldoni who did Goku from Dragon Ball. We've had authors, we've had cosplayers, pretty much anything in that pop culture genre, of like any fandom of sorts. We try to find something, and we'll get like a lot of the behind the scenes stories, and just getting that behind the scenes moments of getting to just chat with them is so much fun.
Yeah, I can tell that there is this close knit togetherness and friendship out of all the collaborations that I've seen on Instagram between you, CJ, and Yukita. It really is a special bond that I'm sure you're very happy to be a part of. I can definitely tell there's so much that goes on behind the scenes.
Oh, there is. I wish I could catch some of the best parts that happen behind the scenes. Like, we always miss probably the funniest parts of the things that you don't get to see, sadly.
So, moving on to our topic for today. So, this is a series I just learned today that is still ongoing, it's not finished.
It is.
What is the series that you suggested that we watch?
So, I chose the Amazing Digital Circus, and it's a Glitch production. It's funny because, yeah, it is. It's coming out slowly, like just one episode at a time, and you never really know exactly when it's releasing until they let you know what the drop date's going to be for that. So, it's it's interesting on many levels.
So, what was the reason that you suggested that we talk about it for this episode? When you first suggested it, I will admit I was a bit skeptical because I saw the poster art and I was like, "Is this just a comedy kids show?" And then I watched the first episode and totally turned my head on its side. And
It's interesting because yeah, if you just look at the art that's out there and it looks very zany, very almost like a quirky Animaniacs kind of thing or something, like very, very, very strange thing. But if you really get a chance to watch them, which I suggest actually, I've come to love them. My daughter actually was the one who goes, "Hey mom, you gotta watch the show." It's almost got a psychological thriller moment going on at some points. It's crazy. The vibrant art, the characters, and the humor is definitely there, but there's a lot more going on than just
yeah.
a kid's cartoon. Yeah, it's crazy. Just a little bit.
So, since you put this out for us, can you tell us a bit of the synopsis for this show?
Well, it starts with the introduction of a new character, ironically, and her name is Pomni. Well, actually, her name is she doesn't remember anything. She remembers not her name, not where she came from, not how she got here, and she's this cute little jester character. And the host of the whole thing is called Kane, and he picks her name for her randomly. He's like, "Okay, we're gonna call you Pomni," and she's just like, "Okay, I don't know." And they go through he sends them through all these games and different stuff throughout each episode. There's a different adventure or something that happens. So it's like a video game. It's like she's gotten sucked into this video game and she finds out that all the characters that are playing it are the same way. Then they eventually, as the episodes have gone through, I think there's only 4 now. I think there's 4. And I'm pretty sure there's 4. Anyway,
There's five
is
actually.
this the 5th one? Oh, that was the 5th
Yeah.
one. Okay. I'm losing count now. There was slow. They're still going. Yes, that's right, and the 3rd one had released. I've gotten to meet some of the voice actors, actually. They're really awesome, people in real life, too. If you ever get a chance to, I highly suggest getting a chance to meet them. All the ones I've met have been fun. So sweet, too. But so Kane sends in through these adventure games, and she finds out that the different characters that play them are also they didn't know how they got there, and they don't know where the end of the tunnel is to this. Like, are they going to ever get to go home and remember who they are? They're really it's kind of unclear, you know? And, so they're just almost surviving in a way, but it's funny because there's a connection with the characters and they each have their own personalities. And Pomni herself has these moments of mind-wrenching anxiety that are highly relatable sometimes to me. So, I don't know if it's an undiagnosed ADHD thing or if it's a social anxiety issue that I grew up having in some ways, but, like, I find that highly relatable, the whole, like, frozen, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how this is gonna end, it's like anxiety moments. And she's kind of grown as a character in a way and gotten through some of that too, which is funny because she's looking for something, it's like she has a hope in a way in her that doesn't even make sense why, because she's just keeps going through it.
I would say my first impressions on this were mixed when I first saw it. The animation style kind of brought me back to early mid 2000s type of 3D animation, and I'm generally not a fan of that type of animation. But this was a little bit different. Maybe it was the storyline, maybe it was the characters, maybe it was a combination of all these things. But you mentioned anxiety, and I think that's the overall kind of theme that all these characters are dealing with some form of a mental battle. We have Ponley, who is like mentally traumatized for the first two episodes. We have Ragatha, who is kind of masking her anxiety with like being very optimistic. Zubul is kind of just a jumble of just not caring. She doesn't want to go on any adventures. Um, Jax is the rabbit character that I think just uses humor and sarcasm to mask what he's going through. And then the actual literal personification of masking is Jangle, I think is her name.
Gangle.
Yes, yes. Um, just has her comedy mask and her drama mask.
Mhm, and her comedy mask is always broken too, which is ironic
Yes,
considering, yeah.
right. It's like nothing that she does. So she'll have small moments of like cheerfulness and being happy and being okay with things, and it's either falling off, she takes it off just because she can't handle the overwhelming mental battle or mental crutch that's like weighing her down. It honestly reminded me of the series on Disney Plus called Win or Lose. Concerning anxiety, our overarching verse for this, you actually suggested, which was First Peter 5:7.
Cast all your anxieties on him, for he cares for you.
Indeed, indeed it does. So you kind of mentioned the synopsis with the series. What were your first reactions when you, if you can remember, kind of your first viewing of the show?
I will admit, like I said, my daughter introduced me to it, and she puts it on, and it's a striking animation because it's that bright colored 3D style in your face animation. So it's almost like Toy Story meets a horror movie in a
Yeah,
way, because it's definitely out there, and the comedy is very slapstick sometimes too. So that stands out. And then yeah, it was the first episode especially, I was like, I really took a minute to you have to watch it and go, "Oh, okay. Well, there's way more to this than what meets the eye originally." I see. But it does, it takes you a second to kind of see that almost darker side to it that's lying underneath the whole surface of just the animation, the comedy and stuff that's there. But it's definitely there. Once you watch it, you get it, but yeah. It takes a second. So, yeah, it's kind of a mind-blowing moment whenever you first watch the episodes and you're like, "Okay, alright, this is actually good. I like it."
yeah. My wife watched a little bit of it with me. The first episode, she's like, "Josh, I don't know about this. It's too zany." But then she watched 2 and 3, and she's like, "This is actually pretty good." So apparently, for some people, it's that getting past that first episode hurdle, because it is a lot, I will say.
It definitely is.
So something that reminded me of when Pawnee comes into play in the first episode, she said that she put on like a headset, she can't get it off, or she's trying. Have you ever seen Sword Art Online?
Yes, actually, yeah, that reminded me of that too,
Okay,
for sure,
yeah,
yeah.
yes. So where they're trapped in the game and unfortunate events would happen and they try to
And they
remember
can
their
never leave, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the first thought too whenever you hear her saying that, is because it's like, she may never get home if that's the case. Definitely, if you've watched anime, like, you have a bad sense of things whenever someone suddenly gets sucked into a game, you're like, "Oh, no. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not leaving this place."
Yeah, you either find a glitch or you go through all the levels, or complete the story and you try to change the story, but even the things that you change, the game is still forcing you to follow a prompt or a script. So, what character stood out to you the most and why?
Honestly, especially initially, like Pomni is one that I definitely feel a connection with because she takes that frustration, that anxiety of her whole situation, and she's learned to keep moving forward, which is funny because that's usually how I end my vlogs. Is like the last thing, one of the things I'm like, okay, keep moving forward, and have a magical day, guys. It's just kind of she makes it through every day. She makes it through every game, and she just keeps going because that's what she does. It doesn't matter. She's like, I know. I mean, she doesn't know where it's going to end. She doesn't know what's going to happen, but like, she just keeps going. It's going to be okay. It's got to be okay at some point.
Yeah, when she first comes into play, she is constantly looking for the exit because she sees this door when Kane takes her around a tour of the grounds, the void, the tent, and we see that really mental breakdown when she's going door through door through door through door and not getting anywhere, and she then has to come to the realization that I'm trapped here and I have to make the best of it.
It's very back rooms. Back rooms as she's going through all those corridors after a corridor. It's like, this isn't good.
One thing, so apparently characters can die in this circus because we see that with I forget his name in the first episode.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't remember. It's weird though because they don't exactly die. That's what's
Okay,
strange about it. Is they actually kind of transform and become
okay,
I think they
Y-
call it abstracting.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah. And it's more like they turn into they turn into this loss of they don't know what they are anymore, and you don't really see it. Like you kind of get a glimpse, I think, in one episode of something, and you see everybody's terrified of them at that point, so they just want to stay away, and it's not safe to be around them because they've lost. It's almost like they've lost everything of themselves, and so because
yeah.
of that, they have absolutely no connection to anything, and so they just are a monster almost. Like they're lost. They're completely lost.
But you're right, they do become extracted. Whatever has happened, the fear that has consumed them, the anxiety that has consumed them, has taken over their identity, and they become this undistinguishable being or monster by the end of it. That is what these adventures are meant to avoid: is keeping them occupied, keeping them off of their own, you know, inner monologue, inner mindset, and say, hey, everything's fine, everything's happy. You're going to go on this crazy, wacky quest so that you don't think about, what's going on in your own inner turmoil. Regarding being abstracted, the show in general, there's facets of comedy, there's horror. What would you distinguish this show as far as genre? Is it something between? Is it something totally different that we've never seen before?
It's definitely unique in its own right, but it's got a little bit of a psychological thriller thing going on some points with it. It's it's a hybrid though between the two because they're going to keep the comedy coming, but they're going to keep, those moments where it gets darker. And even in the funnier ones, like they had one where they were working at a hamburger place, there was still a lot of psychological stuff happening there that was still part of the storyline. It wasn't just the humor. The humor's always there, kinda almost diffuses it so it doesn't get too dark, I think, really, more than anything. Because if it was just, them going through the story and there's like a really scary scene in some of them, then it would have been a very different cartoon. It would have been very dark if they hadn't kept the comedy. I think that's what really keeps it rolling and why it
Mm.
stays interesting is because yes, they're going through these adventures and these crazy things are happening, and sometimes it's really dark and you're learning some of their backstories every once in a while, but they're still just kind of using their personality quirks that are making it through, whether it's indifference or sarcasm or whatever is happening. And it's going to keep rolling and the humor is going to keep coming with it. So, yeah, it's definitely a hybrid in and of itself, but it's got a lot of psychological stuff happening in the background.
I would agree with that. I was not expecting it to go as deep as it did in various moments throughout the show. there's a moment between Kinger and Pondy, I think in the third episode, where they're literally dragged to hell, and
Very dark, very dark
yes,
moment. Yeah.
yeah, and Kinger, who's generally like the zany one, kind of like lost his marbles, is in this very wise and sage advice to Pondy. Um, Maybe because they're just in this place and there's nothing else to cling on to. Regarding the whole psychological aspect of it, which moment in the show do you think best captures that feeling of anxiety for you?
It's funny because, Ragatha is one of the more positive of all the characters, and she's always trying to actually brighten it up for everybody else too if they're having a moment, and it's one of those stresses that you can see it, like, keep a happy face, everything's gonna be okay, but it's her coping mechanism, you know? And so that anxiety of the, "I've gotta hold it together so everybody else is gonna be okay," I definitely find that relatable, especially, not just as a mom, but, in life in general too, It's like sometimes I feel like, "Okay, I've gotta be that backbone that keeps it going, and it's gonna be okay, guys. Let's go." And some days, that smile's very hard to hold on to. So I get that. I get that. And there's been a couple moments in the show where she's broken before, and been like, "Okay, just stop." Everybody stop. And even her happy facade of trying to get through everything and hold that together, has cracked. So yeah, that I think that is the most relatable of all the moments that people go through though. For sure. For me especially.
One of the moments that stood out to me, until I think of that episode 3 or 4, I see Kane as just like this big manipulator, this boss, this guy who's totally in control, and to an extent he is, but he's also a character um like the rest of the characters. He has this therapy session with Zubul and saying, "Okay, well, why don't you want to go on any of the adventures that I like create?" It's like, "Well, because they're not interesting." And it's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "Nobody likes your adventures." And you can see, like, even though he's just eyes and a mouth, the like mental breakdown that's happening. It's like, well, this is the one thing that I'm good at, and if you're telling me I'm not good at the one thing that I'm doing, and you can start to see everything decomposing for a minute, like,
Yeah,
oof,
that's
there's let's tap into that a bit more.
well, and it's funny because he tells them that he's AI and that his whole job is to run the game. But sometimes that I question that, because it almost seems like there's more to him than that. But then again, if you think about it, AI is meant to have, its own way of dealing with things too. So it could be more like he's actually coming to life in his own right, like what was that one Free Guy? Maybe
Yeah,
the AI character in the game actually comes to life and starts living his own life in it. It's like,
yes.
and so I wonder, it's like, is that something that's happening? Because why are the people getting trapped in this game? There's got to be something that's going to come up eventually, and maybe Kane will be the piece that's in there that is connecting it.
It's funny that you bring that up. Free Guy, it was actually an NPC that kind of becomes self-aware, which is crazy because we also see that in episode 2, the crocodile or alligator character gets trapped under this map or this glitch with Pawnee, and he sees another replica of himself, and he asks Pawnee, "Just tell me, what am I?" Is it, well, you're just code, basically. You're meant to play a villain, you're meant to play a part. And again, another very heavy moment when you learn that you're just fake, essentially, that you are just meant to follow a script over and over and over again. And again, I don't want to spoil it. Um, there's a small glimmer of hope for that guy when they ran back, but of course, Kane kind of like shuts that down. Um,
Yeah, that was
yeah,
harsh. I'll admit, like, I
yeah,
think everybody
I was like,
everybody
it
was
had a
surprised how harsh that moment was, and it was just kinda like, Why would you do that?
Yeah, like my face was the same as Ponley's face, and
No. They definitely will surprise you. Honestly, I'm a little nervous after that episode for sure. I never know what's gonna happen anymore, and you're like, "Can I get attached to anything?"
I know, right? Right.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
Going back to Ponley, you said that that is the character that you relate to the most. With her sense of having a lot of anxiety, being very overwhelmed, from your viewpoint, being a person of faith, how does that perspective change when you add faith into being overcome with anxiety or being so overwhelmed?
Honestly, it's funny because it makes all the difference. Because if it was just up to me to be able to see the bright side of things on my own and, you know, as I said, keep moving forward or whatever, to find that glimmer of hope of, okay, there's a reason to keep going. I think that there are days that I would not be able to find that on my own, and I know that for a fact because I've tried. I've like many of us, I've looked for it on my own, and it wasn't there. There wasn't a reason for me to keep going. There wasn't a glimmer at the end of the tunnel because if it's all about me and it's all a selfish purpose in life, and there is no way to move forward from that, and it's just kind of a stalwart. It's a standstill. There's no purpose, no greater purpose than just my selfishness, and it's like the thought of having to get past those anxiety moments or those stressed out days that it's just like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" You're talking about actually, okay, so I've got a little story. I recently went to the premiere of the Wednesday series in a theater, the first episode, and that day for the first time in 2 decades, I was pulled over not once, but twice by police officers that gave me verbal warnings about something about my car, but scared me so bad that I literally had to be like, "Okay, I need to get home." And I was still an hour away from my home with the last one. I'm like, "I need to drive. Please just help me get home." And so just having something, a hope, a peace that doesn't even make sense in those situations, whatever they may be, all the difference between faith and living with that by yourself, dealing with that by yourself.
You're right. There is a piece that Christ offers throughout all understanding. Like you, I've tried to do many things in my own strength and my own understanding that I've just had to get complete control. And that's is very hard for me to give up complete control because I'm so used to being a fixer, a problem solver. And when I can't do that, I do feel a bit helpless. But it's going to God in those moments and asking for that patience, asking for that peace. Kind of like in John 14:27, where it says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Again, just reiterating that overwhelming peace that all these characters could use if it was a
Right.
faith-based show, that is. Um, but Kane offers this surface level of peace that I was talking about, by offering these adventures, distractions, because he comes in where the characters are just like talking, telling around before they can get into any like deep conversations. It's like, hey, it's time for another adventure. So again, offering those, he's he's trying to mask it with exciting and just all this fun and mostly traumatizing events because again, if they don't want to go on any more adventures, what purpose does he have?
He definitely keeps them moving with a lot of busy work in and of itself. It's not a deeper purpose except they have the side chatter during them, like you said with Kinger and Pomni and that one. It was a very deep moment, and he is not a deep character normally, so it was a unique thing, and I think everybody loved hearing him have a chance of real, awareness, and saying things. It's like, "Wow, that is so encouraging. Oh my gosh, we're learning about his story." And then he immediately, well, I don't wanna spoil it, but yeah, he everyone stays true to their character regardless later, regardless of what happens during the adventure. They usually tend to go back to their character. But yeah, there's a lot happening. And then this last one, they went through multiple story, multiple adventures, many adventures, and some of them, they find out, oh, there are actually ones that we might prefer in here as they went through some of them. So you never know what each one's going to be. Each one's so different, and he gets to pick them. Kane gets to pick them. So he definitely has that kind of uh, I'm in control thing. It's funny because in a way, though, he does almost resemble the way that some people see they think God is. He's just almost chaos. I had someone use the term chaos God before, and it was more like they believed there was a God, but he created us and really doesn't care anymore about us. And he's like, Cain has that, does he care about the end results of these characters, question hanging around, because it's like, I'm not sure that he does per se, but he is trying to keep them occupied so they don't abstract, I guess, too, at the same time. So I guess there's something to him. But yeah, I don't know that he's necessarily kind in any way to them, but he does keep them busy, keep their minds moving, and they're definitely distracted from things 100% of the time whenever he's got adventures going. And it's funny because they still have stuff happening even without his adventures. They could be trying to figure out who they are, where they came from, but he doesn't want them doing that either, it seems like. So that might be part of why he distracts them.
There is episode 5, I think, is United, and they go through like a basically a rapid round of these adventures, and where there's a thing, um, it's like film noir, if you will, and they're telling each other like their backstories. So we do get a sense of like, okay, who were you before you were Tawny? Who were you before you were Ragatha? So kind of gives some good like context of these were actual people. They just weren't like misfit characters to begin with.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely not. You're learning that they're not just game NPCs or anything like that. They actually had a life. And it's funny because they don't really tell you how they start remembering what they do remember. They just come kind of in random snippets during different
Right.
adventures. So it's almost mysterious in and of itself just how they remember what they remember. Um, but I feel like they're almost given the chance to remember during some of the games on
Hmm.
purpose because it keeps them going, it keeps them moving, they're continuing to learn about each other, go through the adventures, and it does create a bond between them
It
sometimes.
does. Yeah.
So there's a deeper story coming, I feel like, as it goes. I don't know how long it's going to keep going. They haven't given us any hint, so we'll have to wait and find out. But yeah, it just keeps getting more into their backgrounds and their stories just a little bit at a time. You'll get little snippets from each one of them.
Right. Right. And as you said, this is an ongoing series. We don't know how many episodes that there will be. They did tease episode 6 at San Diego Comic Con. As far as a release date, we don't know that yet, but there are more episodes coming. So we'll be on the lookout for that as well. Highly, highly recommend that if you have not seen The Amazing Digital Circus, the first 4 episodes are available on Netflix, and the show in its entirety, as of now, is available on YouTube. I do want to thank Mombierella for joining me for this episode. For those that want to follow you, keep up with what you're doing, and also maybe check out your collaboration with Making Magic Mischief, how can they find you and follow you?
Simplest way, you can go to my website. It's just mombierella.com, mombierella.com. And I've got all the links there to my YouTube channel is just Mombierella, and our podcast is mostly we stream it to each of our YouTube channels as well, but we have our own Facebook and Instagram for Magic Making Mischief as well. So it's available there. Thank you so much for having me, by the way.
It was an absolute pleasure. And we will have the links down in the description so that you can go ahead and check that out. As always, if you like this video, be sure to go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Really helps us out with the algorithm and getting the channel noticed. Subscribe if you already have not subscribed, and ring the bell for notifications so that you are notified every time I upload a new video. Be sure to check out the full version of this episode on our audio podcast, available wherever you find podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, and iHeartRadio. And I'll see you in the next one.